Thank you, Chairman Collins. Thank you, Ranking Member Mary. I want to thank Chairman Alexander as well for his focus on this issue. And I know that many members of this committee have already become co-sponsors of our bill and have been real leaders on this issue. So we're very appreciative of your attention today. I'm deeply honored to be here with my colleagues, and this has been an important process of continuing to seek feedback on making sure that we are looking at the best practices that occur around the country and also solving some of the worst problems that we've seen and inconsistencies that we've seen around the country. So thank you all for your leadership on this. This, I think, is an example of how members of both parties can work together when you see the strong bipartisan support for this bill and also the strong, I think, bipartisan message that this hearing sends today, that we all appreciate that every student deserves a safe environment on campus so that students can focus on learning instead of being victims of crime or feeling that they have to be in fear. And that's really what we want to accomplish, and to give the proper tools and focus on this incredibly important issue. Campus sexual assault is a serious public safety issue that has impacted every state in this nation, including my home state of New Hampshire. And so, like Senator Heller, in order to hear directly from stakeholders, I've held roundtables and discussions on this issue at Dartmouth College, St. Anselm College, and the University of New Hampshire, bringing together students, survivor advocacy organizations, law enforcement, and campus administration officials to talk about these issues in different sized colleges with different challenges. In New Hampshire, we have seen some positive developments when it comes to ensuring that survivors receive support on campus. And I think that this national discussion has forced many colleges to really focus on this issue. So I think having a hearing like this also causes our campuses to again re-examine this issue. For example, having met with local law enforcement and administrators and students at Dartmouth College in Hanover, I know that they are engaged in a process and committed to change at Dartmouth. And I've also had very candid conversations with the administration there. The Dartmouth community has struggled with this issue, and there's much more work to do. But I'm very encouraged that Dartmouth recently formalized a relationship with the local Rape Crisis Center to provide confidential services to survivors of campus sexual assault. Over in Durham at the University of New Hampshire, they've actually done some nationally recognized work for their rape on rape prevention. And candidly, much of the focus of our legislation is to ultimately bring campus communities throughout the nation in line with some of the efforts that we've seen at UNH. UNH Police Chief Paul Dean proudly characterizes UNH's multiple initiatives on prevention and response as a conspiracy of care for the students at UNH. As a former attorney general in my state, I know that crimes of sexual assault are very serious crimes and need to be handled by law enforcement if victims choose to pursue that route. However, the reality is that for a variety of reasons, these crimes are vastly underreported and often unreported. And our bill seeks to foster a more cooperative environment between schools and local law enforcement by requiring colleges and universities to enter what Senator Gillibrand talked about, a memorandum of understanding with the entity that has jurisdiction to report and investigate crimes on campus. The goal of the MOU is to foster a dialogue between the school and law enforcement before a serious incident takes place. An MOU that clearly delineates responsibilities and requires appropriate information sharing can ensure that survivors who come forward and choose to report a crime to law enforcement, that these crimes are properly investigated. It also can ensure that an accused individual, that there's a clear understanding of what their rights are in this process as well. We know that too many of these crimes go unreported on campus, and that's why it's so critical, this piece of the confidential advisor, so that victims know what their options are and that they know that there is someone who can represent them in this process and can let them know what their options are if they choose to report to law enforcement, or if they, and what will happen during the administrative process. These two provisions, I think, are critical as you look at this bill. And unfortunately, one other issue that came up during the course of bringing people together around this, and I know Senator McCaskill has focused on this as well. We've been very outraged that we found out that on some campuses, the way that these crimes have been haphazardly investigated, that you had athletic departments that were investigating crimes of sexual assault and handling these matters. And so consistency in ensuring that practices like this never occur again will ensure the fairness not only to the accused, but also to victims of sexual assault. So you can imagine if you're a victim and the athletic department is the one investigating an athlete that is accused of these crimes, that you will not feel that you'll get justice in those circumstances. And this bill would end practices like this and ensure that there's consistency and that there's fairness, not only for victims of sexual assault, to ensure that a confidential advisor will be given to victims, but that the accused, that there's a fair and clear process to investigate these crimes. I thank you so much for your leadership, both the chair and ranking member on this issue, and for my colleagues and their incredible work today. Thank you.